welcome back to the Tailgate, guys, for part 2 in our EPD mini-series. Chris is back with us today, and we're going to talk about maternal traits today. So what's the down low?
So basically, when we're thinking about selecting a future herd sire, I think it's really important to understand that when you're looking at the EPDs, that you need to find the holes that are used or that you're going to be filling in for your herd. And so maybe that you need some more maternal traits in your herd. You're going to be looking at the calving ease or calving ease direct column, your birth weight, and your milk numbers as well. Essentially, what calving ease, we'll take that one and dissect it first just a little bit. Calving ease is a sire's daughter's ability to have unassisted births. And the way that we calculate that or express that as a percentage. So when you are directly comparing two sires together, you're going to find that difference in percentages of unassisted births. So when we think of calving ease of calving, we want that number to be higher as well.
Absolutely. I'm not interested in pulling calves in the dark in the wintertime.
No, especially if I have a secondary job or a primary job and the cows are as a second source of income. The less times I have to be out there in my herd doing any kind of management on these things, the better for sure.
Absolutely.
So again, it's expressed as a percentage of unassisted calves with a higher number as best. Now, birth weight, again, it's pretty self-explanatory. That's how much that calf weighs when it's spit out. And it's actually not wet because there are liquid that's on that calf. So when you take birth weights, you kind of want to have that number when it's fairly dried off or even the next day. But birth weight is how much in pounds, and that's how it's expressed. And when we find those differences, it's how much more or how much less that sire's calves are going to weigh at birth. Now, do we want a high or a low birth weight?
It's an interesting question because historically we would tell you we want a low birth weight bull because ideally the lower the birth weight, the smaller the calf, the easier the calving, less likely we are to have to pull that calf, which makes total sense. However, it's very important that we don't get that birth weight too low. I've seen instances where you take a cow who's a -1 on birth because birth weight can be negative. All of these numbers can be negative. That's something to point out. But I've seen a -1 birth weight cow bred to a -3.8 bull. Can you imagine how small that calf was? So we can get birth weight too low. It's important to remember we want birth weight to be a manageable number. And that's going to be different for your environment, different for your management style, and different for each herd.
That's exactly right.
We want it to be low, but not too low, and high enough, but not too high.
That's exactly right. Because if a calf comes out at 50 pounds versus one that's 70 pounds, at birth, he's already 20 pounds behind the other calf. So, again, like she said, a nice balance, not too high, not too low. Now, milk, that's a little bit tricky because a lot of folks think that milk number is directly as to how many pounds of milk that cow is going to give out, which is actually not correct.
Correct.
Essentially, a higher milk number means she's going to have more resources for that calf to consume and convert into pounds. It goes into a bigger calculation, but just think of it this way. A milk number is calculated on the extra pounds that cow is going to give to that calf. So when we look at the two differences between milk, it's actually correlated as pounds of growth, not necessarily pounds of milk produced. Now, do we want that number high or do we want that number low, Sarah?
It's very much kind of like Goldilocks. We want it not too much, not too little, just right. It's very similar to birth weight because your milk EPD is very indicative of your environment. You can have a cow that has a milk EPD of 40, which sounds great on paper because you think, yes, more pounds of growth in that calf, that's great. But if we can't feed that cow to her genetic potential, you're going to be very disappointed. If we turn a cow that's a 40 on milk out on fescue grass and say, bye, I'll see you in the fall, you're not going to be very happy with your body condition on your cow or the calf that she produces as well. Likewise, we don't want it too low because that's pounds of growth. We want them to have enough. So, not too high, not too low.
it's really important that when you're selecting your sires and your future replacements as well, to go ahead and find the breed averages of those and evaluate that. A lot of these, let's say perhaps for birth weight, we would want more of a breed average or slightly above or just below there, rather than finding the difference of which two have the really highest birth weight, but am I going to pick one that has a 4 instead of a 6?
If the breed average is a 2.3 and I'm comparing a birth weight of 4 and a birth weight of 6, really neither of those is ideal. One is better than the other, but neither are ideal.
Yep, exactly. Now, I'm going to put it, we're going to put it into a perspective as well on when comparing two different sires on, let's say, birth weight. Birth weight is expressed at pounds. So, Sarah, go ahead and draw us a bell-shaped curve.
Bell-shaped curve. We're going to see how artistic I am as we get closer to wrapping this video up.
All right, so a bell-shaped curve like this, and with the number going vertically, that's the number of head that are represented for along this line for each pound. So let's say in the middle, right there, we're going to say that that is going to be average. So we'll call the blue line bull A. Sarah, with this nice, pretty purple, draw us a second bell-shaped curve, maybe slightly to the left or to the right of.
Like that?
Just like that. Yep. So this is the birth weight expressed by the calf, the number of calves they've had between bull A in blue and bull B in purple. Naturally, if you look at the two, they do overlap, which means they have calves that have very similar birth weights. However, we can see that the average in pounds for bull B is a lot bigger than those calves in bull A. So we would think that bull B has a higher birth weight number than bull A does. Now, that's not to say that some of bull B's calves are not going to be low birth weight, because if you see on the left hand side of the bell-shaped curve, there are some that are lower than bull A. Likewise, there are going to be calves out of bull A that are bigger than calves that are born out of bull B. So that's where it goes into the effect of knowing the differences, and that even though you have two bulls mated the same way to the same herd of cows, not all the calves are going to be heavier or lower or vice versa. There's always going to be some variance within that herd and those records.
Absolutely. And we hope that this kind of explains to you some of the differences in these numbers. You see tons of differences among herd sires and among females, but we want to make sure when we're looking at that we're comparing it to our herd and what we need. So thanks for stopping by the tailgate today and talking about maternal traits. Y'all make sure you tune in next time to learn all about the terminal and growth traits that we'll be discussing.